Are you one of the many busy professionals working in offices day in and day out? Do you wonder how some people grow their wealth fast, retire early, and play on workdays? Well, you're in luck, because Ginny Bowling hosts this show, Pivot to Prosperity, where she interviews people that can do just that. Play on workdays. Many guests have become financially free. She also interviews people that are on their journey and people that are in support roles, like attorneys, contractors, brokers, and others. Commercial real estate is the common element. She is on a mission to be sure busy professionals know they can own substantial commercial properties too, like apartments, self-storage facilities, and others, and not have to do the work managing them. Passive investing is the key. Syndications are the typical method. Tax write-offs are some of the biggest rewards. Ginny and partners find the deals, build a strong team and business plan, then offer the investment opportunities to passive investors. New episodes are released every Tuesday at 12, so watch for new releases. If you want to get involved, let us know. You need to get pre-qualified to hear about most deals. See the show notes for contact information.
Hello. Ginny Bowling here with Pivot to Prosperity, brought to you by Pivotal Real Estate Investments, where we help our investors build wealth and income through commercial real estate that also improves communities. Today, we are very fortunate to have James Bohan here. Thank you for coming on, James. Appreciate
Thanks for
it.
having me, Jenny.
Yeah. So you have a very interesting background. This will be a great opportunity to talk about some different things I say today. So I'm going to go ahead and read your bio. You listen and tell us if there's anything you're going to add now.
Okay.
All right. At 30 years old, he was a CFO, appointed CFO by a private equity real estate fund, showcasing ability to rapidly ascend the finance industry. Global perspective, he's got that from traveling to 40 countries, gaining a wide-ranging view of global markets and cultures. As far as record-breaking consulting, he's consulted on the largest sale of a student housing portfolio in history, or at least at the time. Do you know, has that been surpassed? Has your record been surpassed?
Probably it has. That was a really long time ago. I think that
Oh,
was
okay.
probably 12 to 13 years ago now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe so, because portfolio sales have gotten a little more frequent, it seems like. All right.
Yeah.
You've had some very influential mentorships. The former professors include the president of the Atlanta Fed, the godfather of the CMBS industry, and the manager of an $11.5 billion private equity real estate fund. Those are some good mentorships. And then as far as academia, you graduated in the top 5% Masters in Real Estate Development program and receiving honors for design on thesis project. So, and I have looked at your LinkedIn and talked with you a bit. You're a fractional CFO of several different types of organizations, I believe, as well as getting entrenched in the modular housing, right?
Yes, exactly. Thanks for
So
looking
that's
into that, Jenny.
terrific. Yeah, a lot to add, I would say. Anything else that occurred to you?
I have my own CPA firm as well, where we help real estate investors and fund managers with tax accounting, get those K-1s out. And then I've been buying and developing some small real estate up here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, where I moved about 4.5 years ago.
Great. And so what's the temperature there today even?
It's 60 degrees and sunny today. It's absolutely beautiful spring day.
Nice. Well, good. We're in April. Hopefully that's coming, right?
Exactly.
Well, very good. Well, so why don't you talk a little bit about how you even decided to get into real estate?
Yeah, good question, Jenny. So, everything in life is always a choice, but like kind of growing up in a real estate family, I didn't feel like I had a choice. My dad was a real estate developer. My dad was a real estate developer, and my mom was a CFO or a CPA. So I ended up being both. Growing up in a real estate family was really good to learn all the nuts and bolts of how buildings get built and managed, and understanding all that process, dealing with tenants. It's been a great education to learn from my father and grandfather in that realm. And then I took an institutional career when I graduated from USC and became a CPA for the real estate fund industry. And so I was able to learn how real estate is used now as an asset class, more so for like these big private equity funds managing billions of dollars, often for pension funds. Leveraged that experience to get my master's in real estate development and ended up working for one of my professors who was starting a debt fund. We did over $1 billion of loans while I was there, and I onboarded 1,400 LPs, and that was a great experience to learn from a lender's shoes. My dad was joking with me. He's like, "Hey, you're in a great spot there, just collecting interest and not having to deal with cities, permits, all the BS that goes into development that I have been dealing with for the past 4 years out here now, developing up in Idaho."
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack, all that you just said. And did you slide in there that you have 1,400 LPs?
At the last firm, when I left, they had over 1,400 LPs.
That's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, we had a third party administrator who helped make the process smooth, and it was a great experience to kind of learn everything I did there.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, and that's so funny that your mom's a CPA and your dad's a developer and you're doing both.
Yeah.
What do you like more?
I really dislike government, and specifically government waste of how they waste people's money. And so I have a huge passion to help consult and advise people how to legally pay as little in tax as legally possible. Real estate, I found to be one of the best vehicles for that when you actually are the operator and developer and can qualify for real estate professional status. I found it's one of the best ways out there to build wealth and not pay taxes at the same time, mostly because of depreciation.
Right, right. So, now do you also get involved in opportunity zones at all?
Um, I was really passionate about opportunity zones when they first came out in 2018. Did a bunch of research into it, looked to do some capital raising for some projects that never fell through. But one of my clients has one up here in Idaho. So I've been consulting for them on the tax side of things and haven't done any specifically myself other than what my clients have done.
Yeah, they've been pretty interesting here in Florida. And for those of you that don't know what an opportunity zone is, it's one of the census tracts that was designated as, technical term isn't laggard, but we'll say one of the low income census tracts of any given county. And the states were to designate all those in 2017, 18. And so there's a lot of tax incentives for you to invest in either businesses or real estate within an opportunity zone. So we're hoping that they will be revived and or improved upon with Trump's second term here. I don't know if you're following any of that, but
Yeah, we'll see. There's just so much talk about potential legislation or tax reform coming with Trump. I always like to say wait and see. A lot of people are talking about the foregone conclusion that, oh, 100% bonus depreciation is back. I'm like, okay, well, it has to get passed first. And, there's a lot of contention between the president, executive branch and the legislative branch to get things passed. So we'll kind of just have to wait and see what happens. So, like you mentioned, the opportunity zones and the bonus depreciation are some of the things that came with the last bill that we're hoping to get renewed or extended with the next one.
right, right. Very true. Well, so um what was it like working for the fund when the debt fund where you were started your career, right?
Yeah, I like to give this example for an entrepreneurship in this role really had the same thing. It's like you're on a train, but you're throwing the tracks down that you're on right in front of you. So it's like you're constantly trying to just keep up with the locomotion of the engine. And it was a really cool and challenging experience to help, get all the different pieces together to keep this train moving on time.
I'm gonna try to find a picture or something like that for
Yeah. There's a
when
there's a funny one from Wallace and Gromit where the dog is putting down the tracks right as they're going.
Okay, yeah, that's quite the interesting picture, but I get it. And so much of what we do in this industry, once people latch on to the benefits, it's crazy how fast it can move, right?
Yeah, I guess since I'm going to be sharing my screen here, I actually found a clip
Okay.
of this I can share for those that are going to listen on video. So this is in Wallace and Gromit, and you could just see the dog here putting down the tracks as he's going, and that's kind of what entrepreneurship feels like at the end of the day.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, so, and today, talk about what you are spending most of your time doing and what you're working on.
So we're sitting here in April 2025. April 23rd specifically. So we had a big tax season to get a lot of our clients K1s and tax returns out by that 4/15 deadline. Did a lot of extensions. All through this tax season, we're also buying another small hospitality asset, 20 keys up here in North Idaho. So now I kind of transitioned from going from like the tax season, as people call it, to really catching up on a few things and then making sure the developments are going on well. And I'm starting to put together a fund. So after doing a few of these on our own, cutting our teeth, a lot of people say paying tuition. We paid tuition on our own dime, learning how to run hotels with the latest technology, and are now gonna roll this up and expand it out to bring in other investors to pursue the same kind of opportunities that we've been doing for ourselves and bring in investors for them now too.
So when you say with the latest technology, what are you referring to?
So with short-term rentals, Airbnbs, and hotels, there's a lot of systems you can use to really minimize the workforce needed to run things well. So my favorite thing, honestly, there's the smart locks, the guest communication, the AI, the algorithms, the automations. But what I really find is cool is using these AI revenue manager softwares. And I've tried a handful of them out and found one I really like, price point, and it helps look at your current market, look at what other hotels are doing, looking at like Google trends of how many people are searching for the area, and then creating a dynamic pricing model for you and your hotel that takes all that into account. It takes occupancy into account as well, booking window, and then it updates the prices, multiple times throughout the day. It's kind of like Yield Star that some people used for apartments, but this is something, there's tons of them out there that do this for the hotel industry now too.
So you said Yield Star?
Yeah, I think Yield Star was the software that a lot of
Okay.
apartment owners use. They actually
Yeah,
got in trouble for some like antitrust violations of
right.
price
Yeah.
fixing with everyone using it. But there's similar technologies that are not that expensive for hotels and boutique hotels where we're playing in that small space. I've seen a lot of trends in the industry where people have been negative on Airbnbs and short-term rentals. They're like, oh, it's just a home, and there's regulation. The city could get rid of it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you should look to boutique hotels. They're like an apartment of like Airbnbs. I'm like, okay, well, it's just you recreated a hotel, and we try to use the best of the Airbnb model and the best of the traditional hotel model, get rid of all the fluff and create the most streamlined experience and operations we can.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. And what did you say the software is that you decided you like?
Price point is what I really like a lot.
Okay. Well, I figured there's a golden nugget there. We might as well make sure people heard that. You're
Yeah.
getting some golden nuggets here.
Yeah, I'm still working on my referral code from them, so stay tuned.
Oh, okay, there you go. Well, by the time this airs, if you want to put it in the show notes, we can do that.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, yeah. But so yeah, you also said, what was it? Well, you didn't say that. So what are you doing on amenities? Do you usually buy something with amenities or do you fill in your pools? There's two philosophies there, right?
Yeah, given that we are limited staff and limited service, we don't want hazards or dangers that the guests could use when, no staff is on site. So we haven't put in any like jacuzzis or pools. I even have like concerns about fire pits, but we have tried to put together like nice patios or sitting areas. At the first hotel we bought, we do events there. We were able to work with the city to get an events permit. So we do weekly farmers markets. We're looking to do some music events out there this season as well.
Great. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah. And so that's primarily you and maybe an investor or two. That's low key though, right?
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
the family that bought this one.
Okay. But you are getting ready to roll this out to investors too, I think you said, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so similar strategy. I don't know if we're going to seed the fund with this specific asset but we're looking at similar opportunities for motels and hotels that need like maybe not just physical love, but operational love.
Yeah.
So the last one we bought was 21 keys back in March. Uh, if you can believe this, in 2025, they were doing all their bookings with a phone and a 3-ring binder. And like just even the most basic technologies out there, are called channel managers, and they get you on Expedia, booking.com. And you could usually set up your own booking engine and website to not have to pay those commissions. And they were not doing any of that. And I had been sending this property letters for a year, like, please sell your property to me. And we finally got it on hold. And just with like even a first couple weeks of marketing and trying to get the rooms that were decent enough rented out as weeklies or monthlies, we've had an incredible amount of demand. And that's also showcases like the kind of downside protection of these hospitality assets. Like, okay, well, if the hotel market, goes away or like travels down for any number of poor economic scenarios, you could just turn them into apartments, pretty easily depending on your zoning. So I really like the asset class for that reason. As we were buying these, inflation was going crazy. And with the hotel asset class, like I said, you can reset your price every minute, or really every night, let's say. But with an apartment, you're resetting them like every month to a year, depending on your leases. And then retail is like 5 years, offices often 10 years. And so if we're in a hyperinflationary environment, we can keep our revenue tracking upwards with inflation by adjusting our nightly prices instead of having to wait a month or a year for leases to roll.
Right, right. Yeah, and that does remind me. So it is true when I'm looking to book in a motel, if I take too long, it might be a different price than about half an hour.
Yes, exactly. Like if someone else comes in and like our occupancy goes from like 80 to 90%, we're going to price that last room higher than we booked the last room.
I better hurry up and book that next room.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Google is doing that. That's tracking the
Yeah, there's a few databases that these revenue SAP work programs track. Tracking the other OTAs like Booking and Expedia is how they get some data. And then, like I said, tracking Google searches, looking at demand, local events. We're able to manually add in some things like that as well.
amazing, amazing. All right, so moving on. The other thing that you have spent a good amount of time, it sounds like, with that you operate as a fractional CFO, but also I believe you said a general partner is what modular housing, right?
Yeah. So I teamed up with one of my grad school MRED Masters Real Estate Development buddies to form this company, Exodus Development, to go out, and we tied up a bunch of sites, ended up with one that's now fully entitled, and we're waiting on some state grant money to go vertical. And I think modular is so cool because while right now you don't really save much on costs unless you can vertically integrate your own factory, what you do save is time. So the IRRs on these things can look a little silly and fake. For example, I was just looking at the pro forma for our one right now. Like our unlevered IRR is about 35%. And that becomes so much higher than traditional builds is because you're delivering about 50% faster once you start building. So that was something that was really cool to me. Time is the most valuable resource we all have, way more than money. And so to save time on a project was something very cool to me. And the way we do it is it's called volumetric, which is where we basically like build these modules that kind of look like shipping containers, but they're all wood frame. And then we stack it on site. I've got a video for you. The other way to do it is with panels. So I like to say it's like connects versus Legos. So connects, you like build all the walls and you assemble the walls on site. With Legos, you take the bricks and stack them. And so I've got a video pulled up to share with your audience here to give a little visualization
Great.
about how this works. So this was a site in LA that our co-founder worked on before he started Exodus. So these things that look like shipping containers are called modules, and they're all wood built. Most of the fixtures are in there already, and they just stack them like Legos, like I said, and it's a pretty cool way to build. we do work with local GCs who go to the factories, learn about how all the MEP is designed, and so what their job is going to be on site to go in and connect, things between the buildings. Like, you see them being built in place, but you still have to, connect plumbing and different electrical and mechanical components to the building once it's on site. So I think it's a really cool way to build. Our firm has a big bet that it's going to be large in the United States, like in Europe, in Japan, all over the world. Modular is so much more common, and the United States has been slower to adopt it. And we figure that there's gonna be more market share moving to build this way in the coming years.
Yeah, I'm going to be following you. Like I say, I believe that modular is going to be the dark horse asset of the decade here. That by the end of the decade, I think we'll see a whole lot more. I hope so, because it will help solve some of the affordability problem, I think, as well as just quantity of housing too. Now, do you have a housing shortage in Idaho too?
I think we do, especially up here in North Idaho. Um, this last, like I said, 21 key motel hotel we bought, there's a huge shortage, and we were able to like fill up a bunch of rooms with MTR, LTR tenants, pretty quickly just due to the lack of shortage, or sorry, lack of supply. And in these resort lake communities, I don't know the best way to describe them, such as Coeur d'Alene, where I'm at. This one's just outside Sandpoint, north of me. But places like Lake Tahoe have such an incredible workforce housing shortage that people in Lake Tahoe, for example, the service staff oftentimes have to drive in an hour, hour and a half to go to work. So in places like Coeur d'Alene and Sandpoint, we're seeing the same thing where, rich investors or second homers come in, buy up a lot of the housing supply, maybe Airbnb it out or not, but it really displaces a lot of the service staff. And honestly, in Coeur d'Alene here, going to a restaurant is a nightmare during the peak summer season because the staff is super stressed out. There's not that many people to hire. And it's really hard to get a workforce, and service ends up kind of taking a hit because of that. So that's what we're focused on doing with our next fund, and is a combination of this hospitality play, but also what we're doing with these duplexes we bought is we're going to remodel them in a way where we create micro apartments in them. So it'll still be 4 permitted doors, but everyone will have like their own access. There won't be any shared common space like a college house where people have to share the couch or share the kitchen and yell at people for not doing the dishes or stealing my food from the fridge. We design things in a way to people call it house hacking or micro apartments, but like with 4 permitted doors, for example, my client was able to get 28 studio rental rooms for one of his last projects. And this is a way to create attainable and what I like to call lowercase a affordable housing in a lot of these resort lake town communities where a lot of the service staff has been displaced. So that's a way we're looking to help solve that in our local markets.
It's a problem. And yeah, as long as planning and zoning are gonna work with you, that's biggest headache sometimes, but that's terrific.
Yeah, that once the city finally understood what my client was doing, they are all about it. They're very supportive of his developments because they realize it's one of the few ways to actually solve the housing affordability crisis we have in our country, and that's even more exacerbated in these resort or ski or lake towns.
Yeah, that's a prime example, for instance, with any of these modular or tiny homes or any of that, where sometimes you have to just go to meet the mayor or somebody higher up, make sure, as well as commissioners, so that people are getting on board, so that when you go to planning and zoning, they've gotten the word by then, because sometimes you've got these planning and zoning staffers. I used to work for the county, and I've been a government oriented consultant too long, probably. But yeah, sometimes they need to have their eyes open.
Yeah, and with our project in Denver, it's gotten to the point where Colorado has put together like an affordable housing program, and we're going after state money to help plug in some of the equity on our capital stack to build these, and the states and cities really want attainable housing out there.
So yeah, things like here in Florida, I participate in like the League of Cities has redevelopment association meetings and things like that, or conferences. So you'd be an ideal speaker to go to one of those and to present that, and you'd probably have lots of cities and counties saying, I want some. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And the art of the deal can be had with the cities to get stuff like this done. Maybe get a property tax abatement or
right.
some tap fee reduction waiver.
Yep.
Uh, just art of the deal is
Yep.
always available with the cities even too.
Very true. All right. Well, so we're running out of time. I have to ask you the big question here. Is there a pivotal person or event that has brought you to either where you are today or pushing you forward to some particular thing?
Yeah, the one I like to say the most right now is Stanley Eisman. He's the founder and CEO of American Realty Advisors. I was blessed to have him as a client when I first started my career, and that's when I kind of took my boots on the ground approach of understanding real estate from my family and understanding how kind of like Wall Street or the alternative investment fund, private equity fund space was using real estate as an asset class, and just kind of working through all his property returns and his own personal company's return really opened my eyes to different careers in real estate. So I really thank him for that. And then I was secondly blessed to have him as a professor of asset management when I did my master's in real estate development. So it was cool to kind of see this like unique private lens into his funds books, and then hear it from the man himself in an asset management class. It was a great experience to learn from him, and he's super successful and has uh, been a really great mentor to me in those ways during my career.
That's terrific. Yeah. So pivotal people, the special series we have is to recognize those because they give so much, sometimes so at such a cost sometimes too. So whether you want to call him or you have us call him, we're going to recognize him as a pivotal person if he'll come on the show. So
Okay,
thank you for nominating him, and we'll make those arrangements. But yes, we love our pivotal people. And
awesome. I love that you do that as a part of your show.
yeah, yeah. All right, so tell people how they can reach you. We're at the top of the hour, and I want people to be able to reach you, and we'll put it in the show notes too. But remember, some people might just be listening, so go ahead and spell.
Yeah, so my website is stonehand.com. That's stone like a rock, Han like Han Solo. I took my grandfather's last name and my name and slapped it together. That's how I got that one. I'm active on LinkedIn, James Bohan CPA MRED there. And then my Instagram is at James Bohan CFO. And so I look forward to connecting with your audience. If you want to get a hold of me for tax consulting or investing, in our upcoming fund, I'm available to book a call on our website. That's stonehand.com. And thanks again for having me on here, Ginny.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. You take care, and we'll get the rest of that into the show notes for sure.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too.